So the magic of a good mic, as you saw here from my test today. Today we're going to be doing a presentation on and a discussion on audio, even though specifically microphones. What's wrong with my mic? Am I muted? Sounds awful. You don't have to be so rude. It's this mic. What happened? What are you talking about? Okay, you guys are trolling me now. Stop it right now. That was obvious when I switched, and everyone started then very, very quickly identified that there was a problem with my mic. It goes a long way, and while I know that this is about 400 US or about 550 Canadian or so, it's worth it. And if you're going to be streaming, creating content, if you're a business owner getting into content creation, you're doing a podcast, you're recording vocals, it doesn't matter what you're doing. This to me is a superior mic, and it's why I went with it. But there are other options. There are other microphones out there that can work for you, that can better represent your voice. The biggest difference obviously is going to be the dynamic. So this one is a dynamic, the Shure SM7B. And then you've got the condenser, and that's the Rode NT1 is a great example. The biggest difference between a dynamic mic is going to be that there's no phantom power needed, or at least not always. It's not the best high frequency response, so it's really good for somebody like myself who has mid to low on the frequencies. It picks up my deeper voice nicer, and I've tried other ones, and then you have to bring the top end down, and it's just became too much. So this was a really good entry level for me based on my voice. It can handle the higher noise levels, and it's a lot more rugged. And the reason why it's rugged is not just the way it's built, but it's also got something to do with the construction of the microphone inside. Microphones, in my opinion, along with cameras, can go a long way in making sure that you've got the best possible audio output. The condenser mics, for example, the Rode NT1, you're going to see requires a 48 volt phantom power. They're going to have wider frequency responses, so it's going to pick up more audio in your room, and you're going to have to tweak with things a little bit more. It's expensive, it's sensitive to quiet sounds, and it's fragile. So it's the way the magnetics and stuff work between the different microphones, which makes it a little bit more delicate versus robust and easy to use. When you're first starting out, you may not be able to afford a $500-600 mic and a $2,500 camera. But if you're somebody who has a little bit of money, or you have the acknowledgement that you need to invest in this technology to really take your streaming or content creation to the next level, I highly recommend doing it, because even if streaming or content creation doesn't work out for you, while it might be overkill, your virtual meetings and other things that you do, it will go a long way having a really good quality mic and camera. So some of the speaking directions that you'll run into here, you'll notice on the right hand side there's an image showing pattern setting symbol and the sound direction or sound source and direction, and then we've broken them out by stereo and cardioid. So stereo is being able to pick up things all around. Cardioid is having a direct communication with the microphone itself. And then underneath, we've got the pattern setting symbol, and then again, the sound source and direction. We talk about omnidirectional, so people talking from 4 or 5 different spaces, but then bidirectional. Cardioid, it's really good for the vocals, really good for podcasts where each individual guest or host has their own microphone. But if you are sitting across from each other, it might be better to have a bidirectional mic, so that way you can pick up both people on either side, or each person would have their own SM7B, for example, and have very isolated voices. One of the things that I noticed that with my Shure SM7B, I needed to do 2 things. I needed to first switch my switch on the back here, but I also needed to dial in on my EQ. When I went directly into my interface, I didn't mess with the frequencies or the equalizer, so I had a straight flat voice. And then when I moved into the Go XLR, I did start mixing with the equalizer, and it is different when it zeroes out and then when you start playing with the frequencies. So it is very important that you not just plug in a mic and expect it to be perfect. You do have to mess around with it a little bit. This TikTok video is our first video, and it's by Night Owl on TikTok. This person is going to walk through the dynamic versus condenser in a very simplified version.
If you're a streamer or content creator, what type of microphone is best for you? The 2 most common types of microphone are going to be the dynamic microphone and the condenser microphone. But what's the difference? Dynamic microphones are usually less sensitive than condensers, meaning that you have to turn the gain up a little bit louder and get a bit closer. But because of this, it means they cut out more background noise, which is great for creating in loud situations. Whereas the condenser microphone is kind of the opposite. It's much more sensitive, but that's good because it picks up more detail and clarity in your voice, but also kind of bad because it's going to pick up more background sound. So if you're not in a well-treated area or you're in a very loud space, the condenser microphone might not be right.
Exactly. If you are somebody who has a very well acoustic treated room, you speak very close to the microphone, you might be okay with a condenser. But if you're not, which when I first started, I had a lot of echo in my room. So I needed to move to the SM7B because I really needed needed voice isolation. And then the next video that we're going to jump into here is Rex Allen Retro. And this video is great because it's going to go and talk about the difference between splitting and merging your audio channels, which out of the box, your Rode Wireless Pro and Go 2 both have split on, and you'll notice the difference real fast here.
And this is how you make your audio stop sounding like this and start sounding like this. Stay tuned. So what I got here is the Rode Wireless Go system, transmitter on the right, receiver on the left. I'm able to plug this directly into my phone and get professional quality audio. The audio you're hearing right now is coming from this microphone, which is connected to the transmitter. The transmitter is transmitting the wireless signal to the receiver, which is pumping it directly into my iPhone as I'm recording this video. Now, if you don't want to use the lav microphone, you can actually just use the transmitter. The big secret to making all this work is the cable that comes from Rode with a gray tip and a black. Gray tip goes to your iPhone adapter, your black tip plugs into the receiver. If you use the standard one that comes with the Rode microphone, it's not going to work. Make sure and swipe to watch the next video to really see what I'm talking about.
So make sure to give him a follow and go check out some of his content. He's got really good content when it comes to audio stuff. Basically, what he was saying was that you've got this one device. At the top of it, you do have a microphone that's built in, and you do have a couple of different pop filters that you can put on that. On the receiver, there is a little clip that can actually plug in or slide into the top shoe of your mirrorless camera. It does come with the different cables you need, but I think you do have to buy a second one. I didn't investigate 100%, but I bought it just in case I needed it if it was slightly different. So that's the other one that I ended up getting with the black and the gray. I'm not the expert in any of these things. I am not an audio engineer. I am not any of these things, but like you, I rely on these people who have either done reviews, who can give you information, who can show you before you buy things. I mean, I appreciate what they do, and I leverage some of their content before I make a decision. But a lot of times I will buy multiple things and I will test them out myself. And a lot of people don't have that ability or luxury. So that's why I do these walkthroughs where we talk about a bunch of different things at once, and I'll give you the links. I'll give you the places where you can buy them so you can venture out on your own and do what you need to do. Okay, so the next video is Jayhawk TikTok, and he's gonna walk through the Wireless Pro itself from a very high level, kind of puts it together for you, what I've been saying, but I'm gonna let this run through here as well.
These might be the best microphones out right now for creators. These are the brand new Rode Wireless Pro, and in a world right now where these wireless mics are so popular for content, here's why you might want to pick these up for yourself. They're really good. It comes with 2 transmitters and 1 receiver. It comes with that wireless charging case, which makes things nice and easy and also makes sure they're protected. It comes with a second case for all your accessories, which includes magnetic clips, lavalier mics, the windscreens on top of this microphone right here. All these things make it really nice for travel. But the fact that it has 32-bit float audio is what really makes the difference. And I know you're wondering, what does that even mean? Especially when you're recording with these type of microphones, it's hard to know what the audio levels need to be before you record. And you've probably seen or heard this before. When people record, that audio might be too loud, which is going to cause clipping. So even if you're editing and you lower that volume, it still sounds distorted. Well, with that 32-bit float, you can actually lower the audio gain levels in post, and it's not going to sound distorted. And I'm actually recording this video with these microphones on auto. Let me know how it sounds.
So in short, on the receiver, you can adjust your gain, and that's what he means by post. So post is after I've spoken into the transmitter, the receiver grabs it, and at that point you can change the decibels, and then it goes into your whatever program you're using to record. And so that kind of just helps you fine tune the raw, so it does a little bit of adjustment before the recording software picks it up. A couple quick facts about the Shure SM7B, which by now, if you haven't gathered, it is the one that I would, if I could, sponsor, give away. Like, I think everybody for the most part needs to have this, unless you're a high-pitched person, but even still, you can still EQ it and get what you need out of it, and maybe even get some of the benefits of lifting the floor for you. But some quick facts, which I thought were pretty cool. It is the most popular vocal microphone on the market. It's the one used in recording studios, on stage. It is the most reputable, long-standing microphone. It happened to be Michael Jackson's favorite. He used it in Thriller, which was phenomenal. I thought that was great. It's a great all-rounder microphone. It's perfect for home studio recording and podcasts and all those good things, and also recording instruments. So if you're somebody who is, for example, somebody who records drums or guitar, you can put a microphone in front of your amp and you can capture that audio. There's a lot of really, really good benefits to the Shure SM7B. And again, I want to say this is not a sponsored. I have zero affiliation. I use Amazon for the association links. I don't have any brands that I am being paid to do this for. I own my own company, which allows me and affords me the opportunity to get into content creation. It allows me the opportunity to buy hardware, test the hardware, and it will share that information with you from a non-technical perspective, really, but somebody who's just like you, who wants to create good content and use good products. Video 4. I love this. Is probably one of my favorite videos because it's going to take exactly everything I've been saying about sound isolation. And this is by the Barry Wham Beatbox group. So there's 4 guys, they beatbox, and they are going to show you the difference between having a microphone in stereo that's picking up all of their voices at once versus all 4 of them having a Shure SM7B and doing true voice isolation while sitting right beside each other. This is a fantastic video that will just, for me, I think it should really, really hit home what we've been talking about.
No. What you come doing like this?
So needless to say, like, if you don't understand sound isolation by now, maybe don't consider getting an SM7B, because I think that really just puts it right into perspective. So the MV7, this microphone is really cool. It does have a touch panel at the top here, so you can actually change the input. I would use this in a podcast, and I would make sure that, you know, the person was able to be heard well. I also like it because if a guest is on a show or a guest is with me, they can monitor themselves as well directly from the microphone. And then I bought this other one, which is the PGA 48 and also XLR. And I use this to plug directly into my DDJ 800 so that when I'm DJing, I can pick this up or put it on a mic stand, and it's not huge and obnoxious. I can pick it up. It also has a switch on it, so I can turn it on and off, which was really key because the controller has an on-off switch for the microphone, but sometimes you forget. So if you always just get in the habit of turning on and off your microphone, you'll always be taken care of. What do you need in order to get an XLR or a Shure SM7B set up? You spent the $500 or $400 or $600, whatever it is. Now what? Don't just buy the microphone. It's not going to work. There's no USB port, so there's absolutely no way you're going to get this into your computer or anything else unless you have an audio interface, a mixer, or something already that you can feed this into. The first thing I recommend is an audio interface. Now, you can get a mixer as a content creator, as somebody who does this a lot. I would suggest getting a mixer because a mixer is going to give you more, where an interface just brings in the true audio as it is and puts it back out for you. You have to leverage other things, either it's software, whatever for the EQ, but it is a pretty straightforward thing. The reason why I like an interface is because it does have, in my case, I'm using the Studio 24C by PreSonus. It has a 2-channel in, so I can do 2 mics in, or I can do a left and right channel from the DJ deck, but it also has headphone jack in the back. It has MIDI. It has other things I can leverage, and then I can control the volume right there on the interface. I also have a PreSonus 1810C, and that is a 4-channel mic coming in, and that 4-channel mic coming in is nice, but it has also 2 headphone jacks. It has more connections on the back, so it's super important to make sure that you think about what you want. The PreSonus is affordable. I don't remember the prices off the top of my head. They're not more than a few $100 max for these. I did find at one point though, when I went into the PreSonus, I think I needed a cloud lifter, and I've just bought a single in out, and I was able to use that to just lift up the signal a little bit without putting too much gain in from the PreSonus. So again, the 24C, the 1080C, and the Go XLR. The 24C and the 1080C are both USB-C connections, and the Go XLR is a regular USB A/B connection. The next video that we're going to play is Beck Johnson, and what I enjoy about her content is that she's actually an audio engineer, and she does a really good job of breaking down interface basics.
What is an audio interface, and do you need one? Basically, an audio interface is a way for you to be able to plug your microphone into this thing, then to plug this thing into your computer so that it works, right? You can use a USB mic and you don't need one of these, but you get so much flexibility and so many different options with an audio interface. First, you plug the audio interface into your computer. Then you can plug in your microphones, and the key here is multiple microphones. So with a USB mic, you can only use one mic per computer. Audio interfaces come with multiple inputs. Also, you plug your headphones into the interface and you control the volume there. Automatically, everything is going to sound better with an interface versus plugging it into the USB mic or your computer. Lastly, you can plug in your speakers, or what we call studio monitors, into the interface, so you have the option of using headphones or listening to speakers. And you can plug in instruments like guitars. 2 more really rad things about interfaces. This one here, you can plug directly into your phone for recordings like this. Also, if you're recording podcasts, people can call you in via Bluetooth and you can record that way. Another fun thing about a lot of interfaces is they come with software. So this comes with software. You can press a few buttons to have equalization put on your voice. So there's one that will make you sound like a radio broadcaster. There's Here's another one that will make you sound different ways. I do recommend this to all of my students.
So she talks a little bit about some of the benefits of having some of the equalization that you can do. And we all know you should know the Go XLR if you're in content creation and have heard about it, but the Go XLR has a bunch of different channels, which is a really nice benefit because you can route audio, but it also does have FX that you can turn on. So for example,
I can turn on FX like this, and it should be grabbing right now and putting in an FX
for you. So it's really nice to be able to do more with your voice and your microphone. You can use other programs to control your Go XLR externally. There's lots of fun things that you can do. So going directly into an interface is one way of doing it, but picking other interfaces that have software that allows other fun stuff can go a really long way of pulling more out of your product that you use. Okay, so now you've got a microphone, and you'll notice that some people create content away from their desk, and it's not uncommon that they will just hold the microphone like this and talk into it. And that's fine. I could do that. I could take this off the boom arm, and I could walk around and just hold this and talk into it, put it down, move it around, whatever I want to do. This is really good for people who maybe have a sit-stand desk. They want to maintain this type of microphone, and they want to just move around, or they have it plugged into an interface into their phone or whatever, and they don't want to lose having the Shure SM7B. So you can have it like this, which is fine. But if you're like me, I want to be more hands-free. So I've gone through a couple different ones. I did a Blue Pro arm, and what I noticed with the Blue Pro arm was that there was a little dial on the side, and it never really got to the point where it was a really, truly, genuinely free-flowing arm where I could just move it around, not have to struggle, not have to feel like I have to, push it because it's too stiff. And this is no discredit to Blue because they make really good stuff. But for me, it just didn't work. I had a lot of requirement to be flexible and move it around very easily, and it just didn't seem to be that easy for me. So then I started looking into another 3-point arm, and it was the Rode PSA1 Plus, which is not the Pro, it's the Pro Plus. So the one on screen right now that you see is the Rode, I think it's the Rode Pro, and it doesn't have this little sleeve that just kind of makes it a little bit more cosmetically pleasing. So I got the one with the sleeve, and that's it. The boom arm is great. I used to have a boom arm on my little table when I DJ'd, but I found that it would get in my face, so I ended up putting a little mic stand, and then I found that didn't work either. So then I started putting the microphone on the table beside me, and I would just pick it up when I need it because I just didn't have another one of these, and the table I have isn't good. But I could probably see some benefits to having a bigger table when I'm DJing, and I can move the microphone in and out very, very easy. Like this thing is just flies, and it's super easy. So that is very high level with kind of boom arms. And there's another video by Venus and Ferb, and it's kind of a fun, playful video. It's a throw in at this point because I think you know the difference between this and a low pro and whatever. But I really enjoyed this guy's video because he finds a way to be humorous about it. And you'll notice here that he's got an Elgato 3-point with the C clamp, but then he also gets the low pro.
I literally just bought this suspension boom arm, so I can't believe Elgato would release a white low profile mic arm only 4 months after I made my purchase. Paired with the Wave 3 mic, I think my desk looks even cleaner than before. Now, there's just one minor issue. What should I do with the other arm?
What should you do with the other arm? Donate it. So it's kind of humorous and funny at the same time there, right? Like where it's talking about like he went from one to the other and it looks a lot cleaner. For me, that wouldn't work. The way my desk is set up, having a low profile would actually get more in the way. If I had a cleaner setup and a more simplified version of a desk here, I could probably get away with that. But for me, I've always had the benefit of having this arm, and I can literally just put it out, tuck it up, and it's off to the side. I really do like having that. The other thing I noticed is that he ended up putting the Elgato Wave 3 on there and not the Shure SM7B, which is probably the reason why he would likely support 2 microphones. One for when he's gaming, he can have it back out of his way. It's probably dynamic or whatever. And then he'll have the other one, which he could use for when he's maybe just chatting or doing a podcast or recording a video. Now that you've got a microphone, you've got it on a stand, you're putting it into an interface or a mixer, how do you get that audio out? How do you hear that audio to you? Because we're going to use OBS and that's going to be your source input, but for you, how do you hear it? When I first started with the pandemic, I was all about headphones. And if anybody's ever seen me, I've usually got headphones on. I've got these Audio Technicas. These are the ATH M50Xs. I've got 2 of these, and I wanted these for when I do podcasting mostly. But then I have started to learn over the years that these headphones, while nice, are probably more appropriate for either listening to audio recordings or, recording videos and listening listening to the raw output and those kinds of things. But then I really wanted to free my head. They call it clamping. When it hits on your side of your head after hours, you start to get like a headache, or it can start to feel sore. And I really noticed it back then because I was doing a lot of Zoom sessions, so I had my headphones on all day long. Wearing the headphones when I had a sinus issue, it actually hurt my ears a lot too. So the compression, the clamping can really take its toll on you, and it can hurt after a bit. Not to mention, if you're a person who cares about your hair, it puts little dents in your hair and you look stupid. So what I ended up doing was I ended up going with a pair of monitors, studio monitors, which are the KRK Rocket 5s. They're small. I have them kind of in the corners here so I can hear. Right now I have them playing on this, so I can hear the music, I can hear the alerts when they happen, I can hear these different things. And so it really has been liberating to not have to have headphones on all the time, and I can still hear. So now all my meetings are conducted through my speaker monitors, and it goes a really long way for being able to get through your day as a virtual meeting person or as a streamer. Like, just not having stuff on my head is just awesome. This guy, Fozzy Music, he is a DJ. He teaches DJing. He knows a little bit about music. You can see he's got a good background. He creates content. He does the sound absorption. He does a lot of different things, but check him out. He's really cool. He's got a website too. Feel free to go in there. If it's up your alley, you'll like to follow this guy. He's going to break down 5 very similar middle of the road kind of studio monitors. The first set he has are the ones I have, the Rocket 5s. I think you'll enjoy this video. So let's give this a quick listen and then we'll wrap up here.
These are the top 5 studio monitors for home studios in no particular order. Number 1 is the KRK Classic 5s and the KRK Rocket 5 G4s. Now these have the best bass in this list. $200 for the Classic 5s and $378 for the Rocket 5s. Number 2 is the Yamaha HS5s. Now these have the best stereo imaging and arguably the most honest sound. At the time of this recording, the HS5s go for $400. Third on the list is the PreSonus E5s. Now these are the best value for money. They have a flat sound, but the detail of the sound can be improved. At the time of this recording, they go for $200. Number 4 on the list is the Atom Audio T5Vs. Now these just look great and they're suited for longer sessions because they cost less ear fatigue. At the time of recording this video, the T5Vs go for $400 for the pair. And last on the list is the JBL 305P Mark II. These sound great, but I have to be honest, they just look weird. At the time of this recording, they go for $250 for the pair. Links to all these speakers can be found in my bio. Peace.
Yeah, I like his delivery. I like his accent. I think he's great. He's very chill. One of the things that has come to my attention is earbuds, and you can do earbuds like AirPods, which are, they don't go in your ear. They're not sealed, but you can also consider in-ear monitors. Now, in-ear monitors are tricky. This is a new product for me that I'm learning, so forgive me if I don't know squat about this, but from what I've come to understand is that the monitor speakers, because they have the ability to deliver several different types of frequencies or different types of sounds into one ear, it's really, really good for people who are in a band or people who sing and people who appreciate having maybe more of a raw sound. So for me, it's almost no different than me having my KRK Rocket 5s, but just in my ear. And the problem that I have is that I don't think I can wear them for a really long time. The seal is great. It really breaks out the sound around. I don't have to hear that. But one of the things that kind of irritated me, pun intended, was when you put them on, they go over the ear and they're kind of stiff. And so it takes a bit of practice getting them in your ear. The cable wasn't long enough for me to have it go to an interface or a mixer. The sound wasn't crazy and the price was really expensive. It was like $400 and some. For me, I'm not sure if it's the best. I might be able to find something like this to be really good in a podcast environment where maybe I have a producer who's feeding me in the different signals and I can control that. I'm not sold on Shure or any in-ear monitors being appropriate for an everyday content creator, but I would love to hear your feedback. If anybody's tried this, I'd love to hear what you did to make it work or how it worked for you before I make the decision to fire these things back out. But they're really expensive, and as a guy who I don't mind spending a bit of money on technology, these were cheaper. And by $400, I mean the ones I was gonna buy was $1,200. So I'm not sold on it. If I was maybe a professional music person or vocalist or somebody like that, I think that would be very, very cool. I did see a video though of a singer who was on stage with a pair of monitors, and I always thought the monitors were a person listening to themselves, and maybe a lot of times it is. But what I loved about this particular singer is that they had, and forgive me, I'm not going to say the right word here. I don't know what it is, but when you've got that little tick tick. She had that playing in her ear, and then her own voice telling her she was at the chorus, or she was at the bridge, or she was wherever she was in the lyrics, and that's all she heard. I thought that was absolutely genius. And as somebody who might appreciate somebody being in my ear while I'm doing things like this, I could potentially have my in-ear monitor just be my backstage, and my producers telling me what I'm doing or not doing, keep me on track, tell me to talk more, talk less, whatever. I think that could be something that would be very, very beneficial for me. Last but not least, sound absorption. So you've got a microphone, you've got a boom arm, you've got a mixer, you've got an interface, you've got your monitors. Everything is going great, but you're sitting in a room with crazy ass echo, reverb, I don't know what you call that, whatever that is. You got echo in your room. The quickest way to get rid of that is to put sound absorption things in place, whether that be hanging curtains on your windows, if you don't have, maybe you've got harder shutters or something, but curtains, fabric painting, carpet, all those types of things, putting those in your room will help break down the reflection of audio off the hard walls that you might have. Other ways to do sound absorption, if you're somebody who like sings, for example, you can see here that they've got a bit of a, I don't know what you call that, it's like a spit filter where you don't want to talk right at the microphone, so they put that film in front, and then they'll oftentimes have like a little curvature behind the microphone to do audio isolation. You've seen people who sing music, they go into a sound room, right, where everything is just super sound absorbed and just captures just that audio. But you know, we're streamers, right? We're content creators, so we're doing these things, but like we're not going to go this far unless this is like up your alley of the way you create content. If you sing music, then you might do what you see here on the screen. But if you're just a regular Joe like me, maybe just putting up some stuff on the wall is sufficient enough. So it really comes down to two things. You're going to either have cosmetic type paneling, which everyone sees either in different colors or black, white, whatever, and they've got curves and they've got different shapes and you can do fun things with them. And then you've got the more generic panels. So the generic panels are going to be either like the black ones that you see there, or like a $5 black and white package from Amazon. Whatever is in your budget, whatever is in your desire, it doesn't matter as long as you're putting something up to have the breakdown of that audio reflecting back into your microphone. Or if you've got a lot of echo, a Shure SM7B will cut down a lot of that, so you don't have to invest necessarily more. I noticed that I still had echo in my old office, and in this office, without as much sound absorption, I don't actually have a lot of echo, so it really works a lot for me. I did get the Elgato Wave panels, and again at the beginning I said I have on the side here, you can see I've got like I think it's a 9-pack, 1 2 3 9, yeah, there's 9 in that pack, and then I do have another 9-pack that I could go and set up if I want to, but I don't really need it right now, so I'm not going crazy about this. You know, breaking down some of that sound absorption will really go a long way. You can spend money on a microphone, you can spend money on a Go XLR or an interface, your studio monitors, your boom arm, all the cabling you need, but at the end of the day, if you end up getting all this stuff creating echo, you're gonna have to spend time on making sure you cut all that out. That's what I wanted to cover. I wanted to make sure that we kind of wrapped all that up into one kind of deployment for all of your audio needs. It all starts at the microphone though. You got to make sure that you spend time on finding the right microphone for you and your voice, because that is really truly at the end of the day the most important thing.